I am the old-time elocutionist, who in days gone by brought ringing clear to live again voices that never die. These are the timeless voices. In life's eternal flood, they speak of faith and courage, bitterness and blood. I am the age-old elocutionist. I stand on the rostrum of time, echoing through all eternity, a voice from out of time.
Oh, hello, Grant. Can I help you?
No, I can manage all right, Andy. Thank you just the same. Say, I thought you had a baseball coaching schedule signed up here for tonight.
Yeah, we were supposed to, but the coach gave us the night off.
Yeah, you boys must be getting pretty good. You think you're going to take the high school baseball tournament this year?
Well, we can try. Here, I'll clear out of here and let you get back to your work again.
No, Andy, you stay put. I guess I can take a little time off from my work to talk with you.
That's what you always say, Grant, but, you know, seems like you spend just about 24 hours a day doing nothing but working.
Well, a history book doesn't just write itself, Andy.
No, I guess not. Tell me something, Grant.
Yes? What's that?
You told me once that history is an is and not a was, and that the people who make history, well, they don't do it with the idea that they're making history.
That's right, Andy. The men whose names are recorded in the history books don't get them there merely by trying to make history, but rather through trying to solve the problems of their day.
Then the real history, the most important history, is being made today, right now.
Yes, you might say that what's happening today in the world we live in is the most important history in our lives because it affects our lives so directly.
Well, in that case, Grant, just how important is the history you're writing about in your book?
How important, Andy?
Yes, all this history that's been left in our care, can it do anything for us?
Yes, I think that history, the history of men and ideas, can be a magic window through which we can more clearly see and understand ourselves, and can serve as a guidepost for our conduct among our fellow men.
Yeah, I think I see what you mean, Grant, but, well, look, let's get down to earth. Now, what are you writing about now in your book?
Well, right now, Andy, I'm writing about the beginning of the Civil War in 1861, and about one of the really great men in the history of this land of ours.
Abraham Lincoln?
No, I'm thinking rather of his counterpart.
You mean Jefferson Davis, President of the Confederacy?
Yes, Jefferson Davis. What makes you ask?
Well, I was just wondering how the history of the Civil War and Jefferson Davis can help us out today.
Well, Andy, I think that it can show us that it is possible to respect a man for his honor and integrity, even though his views might differ from ours.
I mean, we should respect Jefferson Davis, even though he fought against us in the Civil War, even though he was for slavery?
Yes, Andy, because in his own conscience, Jefferson Davis truly believed in this cause. In fact, he thought that slavery was a blessing to our country.
A blessing? But it wasn't even right.
Well, yes. In fact, he justified it both in the Bible and the Constitution of the United States.
With the Bible? Well, how could he do that?
Well, here, let me see. Yes, Here are some passages that I've copied from the Old Testament, which were the most widely quoted in the defense of slavery before the Civil War.
And the sons of Noah that went forth from the ark were Shem, and Ham, and Japheth. And Ham is father of Canaan. These were the sons of Noah, and of these was the whole earth overspread. And he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. And he said, Blessed be Jehovah, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. God enlarged Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids shall be of the heathen round about you. Of the nations that are round about you, of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. Moreover, of the children of them that sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they have begotten in your land. And they shall be your possession, and ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession, and they shall be your slaves forever.
Jefferson Davis argued that the word servant in the King James Version of the Bible should have been translated as slave.
Well, that still doesn't mean he was right, Grant.
No, it doesn't, Andy. Perhaps the best that we can say for Jefferson Davis and slavery was that the treatment of slaves on his plantation was generally accepted as the model system throughout the entire South. That is the way that slaves were accounted for in the plantation bookkeeping system.
And another thing, Grant. How can we respect a man who is for breaking up the country?
Well, as for that, Andy, when Jefferson Davis attended West Point, he was taught there that it was the right of a slave, or of a state, to leave the Union if it had sufficient provocation.
Is that in the Constitution?
Well, that's the way the Constitution was being interpreted, Andy. And Jefferson Davis knew the Constitution by heart.
I still don't see it, Grant. You say we should respect a man who believed in slavery and who believed he was right in going to war to split up the country?
Well, the important thing here, Andy, is how he held his belief. The character, the honesty, and the dignity of this man were unimpeachable. He had proved his courage in the war with Mexico. He proved his loyalty as a member of the United States Senate. In political philosophy, he was far superior to Lincoln.
No wonder they elected him president of the Confederacy.
Yes, they really believed him to be the right man in the right place, as it says here on this inauguration button.
Tell me something, Grant. Was there ever any chance that the South could have won out in the Civil War?
No, Andy, I don't think that there ever was.
Because the northern states were so much bigger and stronger?
Well, that was important, of course. But I think that the Confederacy was a lost cause before the Civil War had even begun.
Before the war?
Yes, Andy. The Confederacy was a lost cause from the time that headlines such as this began to make their appearance in the Southern newspapers. Because, you see, above all, what caused the defeat of the South was the very principle upon which the Confederacy had been founded.
The principle? I don't think I know what you mean, Graham.
Well, you see, Andy, the Southern states justified their secession from the Union on the basis that an individual state owed no ultimate loyalty to the federal government.
That the state governments came first and then the national government?
That's right, Andy. And these same states were unwilling to concede ultimate loyalty to the Confederate States of America.
So, even if the South had managed to win the war...
It was doomed to ultimate dissolution by the very principle upon which it had been founded.
The rope of sand.
Yes, as Daniel Webster said, a union that is based upon the right of a state to secede or nullify laws at will is nothing more than a rope of sand.
And the people of the South couldn't realize that?
No, they couldn't, Andy. The Southerner felt that his government, the federal first, and then the Confederate when it came, was responsible directly to him.
Well, just what kind of a government did they want?
Well, the kind of a government that they wanted, Andy, was an ideal. It was an ideal of an American government. It was based upon the consent of the governed, but with the absolute right remaining with the people to abolish or to alter it. On February 18th, 1861, in Montgomery, Alabama, Jefferson Davis was inaugurated as the President of the Confederacy. And on the day that he made his inauguration address, there were 7,000 persons gathered there to hear what he had to say. But millions of others, both North and South, heard his words repeated by the old-time elocutionist who carried his message to all parts of the country. And those who could not share the intent and spirit of his words had yet to respect them for their honor and dignity as they were spoken, unimpeachable, by a great statesman of a lost cause.
Gentlemen of the Congress of the Confederate States of America, friends and fellow citizens. Our present condition, achieved in a manner unprecedented in the history of nations, illustrates the American idea that governments rest upon the consent of the governed, and that it is the right of the people to alter and abolish governments whenever they become destructive to the ends for which they were established. The declared compact of the Union, from which we have withdrawn, was to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. And when, in the judgment of the sovereign states, now composing this Confederacy, it has been perverted from the purposes for which it was ordained, and ceased to answer the ends for which it was established, a peaceful appeal to the ballot box declared that, so far as they were concerned, the government created by that compact should cease to exist. In this, they merely asserted the right which the Declaration of Independence of 1776 declared to be inalienable. Of the time and occasion of this exercise, they, as sovereigns, were the final judges, each for himself. The impartial, enlightened verdict of mankind will vindicate the rectitude of our conduct. And he who knows the hearts of men will judge of the sincerity with which we labored to preserve the government of our fathers in its spirit. The right solemnly proclaimed at the birth of the states, and which has been affirmed and reaffirmed in the Bills of Rights of the states, subsequently admitted into the Union of 1789, undeniably recognizes in the people the power to resume the authority delegated for the purpose of government. Thus, the sovereign states here represented proceeded to form this Confederacy, and it is by the abuse of language that their act has been denominated revolution. They formed a new alliance, but within each state, its government has remained. The rights of person and property have not been disturbed. The agent through whom they communicated with foreign nations is changed. But this does not necessarily interrupt their international relations. Sustained by the consciousness that the transition from the former Union to the present Confederacy has not proceeded from a disregard on our part of our just obligations or any failure to perform every constitutional duty, moved by no interest or passion to invade the rights of others, anxious to cultivate peace and commerce with all nations, if we may not hope to avoid war, we may at least expect that posterity will acquit us of having needlessly engaged in it. Doubly justified by the absence of wrong on our part and by wanton aggression on the part of others, there can be no use to doubt that the courage and patriotism of the people of the Confederate States will be found equal in any measure of defense, which soon their security may require. We have entered upon a career of independence, and it must be inflexibly pursued through many years of controversy with our late associates of the northern states. Oh, we have vainly endeavored to secure tranquility, obtain respect for the rights to which we were entitled. But as a necessity, not a choice, we have resorted to the remedy of separation. And henceforth, our energies must be directed to the conduct of our own affairs and the perpetuity of the Confederacy which we have formed. If a just perception of mutual interests shall permit us peaceably to pursue our separate political careers, my most earnest desire will have been fulfilled. But if this is denied us, and the integrity of our territory and jurisdiction shall be assailed, it will but remain for us with firm resolve to appeal to arms and invoke the blessing of Providence on a just cause. Now, actuated solely by a desire to preserve our own rights and promote our own welfare, the separation of the Confederate States has been marked by no aggression upon others, and followed no domestic convulsion. Our industrial pursuits have received no check. The cultivation of our fields progresses as heretofore, and even should we be involved in war, there would be no considerable diminution in the production of the staples which have constituted our exports, in which the commercial world has an interest scarcely less than our own. This common interest of producer and consumer can only be intercepted by an exterior force which should obstruct its transmission to foreign markets, a course of conduct which would be detrimental to manufacturing and commercial interests abroad. Should reason guide the action of the government from which we have separated, a policy so detrimental to the civilized world, the northern states included, could not be dictated by even a stronger desire to inflict injury upon us. But if it be otherwise, a terrible responsibility will rest upon us, and the suffering of millions will bear testimony to the folly and wickedness of our aggressors. In the meantime, there will remain to us, besides the ordinary remedies before suggested, the well-known resources for retaliation upon the commerce of an enemy. We have changed the constituent parts, but not the system of our government. The Constitution formed by our fathers is that of these Confederate States. In their exposition of it, and in the judicial construction it has received, we have a light which reveals its true meaning. thus instructed as to the just interpretation of that instrument, and ever remembering that all offices are but trusts held for the people, and the delegated powers are apt to be strictly construed, I will hope by due diligence in the performance of my duties, though I may disappoint your expectations, yet to retain, when retiring, something of the goodwill and confidence which will welcome my entrance into office. It is joyous, in the midst of perilous times, to look around upon a people united in heart, with one purpose of high resolve, animating and actuating the whole, where the sacrifices to be made are not weighed in the balance against honor, right, liberty, and equality. Obstacles may retard, but they cannot long prevent the progress of a movement sanctioned by its justice and sustained by a virtuous people. Reverently, let us invoke the God of our fathers to guide and protect us in our efforts to perpetuate the principles which by his blessing they were able to vindicate, establish, and transmit to their posterity. And with the continuance of his favor, ever gratefully acknowledge, we may hopefully look forward to success, to peace, and to prosperity.
And now, here is Paul F. Sharp, Associate Professor of History at Iowa State College.
The war between the states bulks large in American folk memory. For millions of our people, it is still the war. And until Pearl Harbor, no single experience had entered our national heritage as forcibly or as deeply. There are many reasons for this, but here we are concerned only with the signal fact that the Civil War marked the breakdown of American democratic processes. It marked the collapse of our national will, and it nearly marked the destruction of the American experiment in democratic republicanism. Jefferson Davis argued the Southern case effectively and with skillful logic. We must never forget that millions of people all over the world regarded Southern secession as part of the movement in the 19th century for national independence and freedom. It was regarded by millions of people as part of that move for self-determination that drove the peoples of Italy, Hungary, Greece, and Poland to overthrow the political power of their masters. The Confederate States of America comprise an exciting historical study, quite apart from any sectional or emotional interest. Has any other government in history so surely provided for its own destruction through recognizing its constituent members as sovereign and independent? How could it be anything more than a loose confederation, incapable of mobilizing its natural resources and incapable of bringing to bear its strength and power in a moment of crisis? Surely this government must be buried under the epitaph, "Died of states' rights." Has any other government in modern times guaranteed the right of owning property in human slaves in its fundamental organ of government, its Constitution? Abraham Lincoln's arguments for union and for peaceful change move as a mighty stream, broad, comprehensive, and all-embracing, in contrast to the rivulets of legalism and the tiny freshets of moralism characterizing the speeches of Jefferson Davis or Alexander H. Stephens. Nowhere is this contrast more dramatically revealed than in the striking differences between the inaugural addresses of Jefferson Davis and Abraham Lincoln. Physically speaking, said Lincoln, we cannot separate. We cannot remove our respective sections from each other, nor build an impassable wall between them. Can aliens make treaties better than friends can make laws? Why should there not be a patient confidence in the ultimate justice of the people? Is there any better or equal hope in the world? In our present differences is either party without faith of being right? We are not enemies, we are friends. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic cords of memory stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone all over this broad land will yet swell the chorus of union when again touched, as surely they will be, by the better angels of our nature. General Robert E. Lee, one of the great soldiers of modern times, could present victory after victory to his government in Richmond. But he could do no more, for military victories, unsupported by great statesmanship, are meaningless. The great statesman lived in Washington, not in Richmond.